Oh, sorry, I'm logging in the incorrect Zoom account. I need to log out. I will be back.
Okay, bye. Hello, Claire. Are you doing your homeworks with me or with Sumati's class, Claire?
Uh, I want to try to do homework with you, but I need to confess that I didn't manage to do it. Like I started ACI 1 homework and I planned to do ACI 2 homework yesterday, but I fell asleep. So I will try to do it. Like I download the materials and I want to write and send it to you, but I didn't manage. I want to do it. Really.
Okay. Crank up the juice, my dear. Thank you. Sheila, you have papers to show me?
Yes. Wait a minute.
Okay. I trust you. Let's get started. Okay, for the recording, welcome. We are ACI Course 2, Class 3, Bodhicitta and the Mind. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They're gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who is hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it would be if we could also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that this is possible, actually even inevitable. And so think of karma and emptiness to the extent that you can, that allows you to grow that wish into a longing, into an intention, even into a determination if you feel ready. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. So last class, we learned the definition of refuge, didn't we? And someone can share that with us, please.
Any movement of the mind
Mhm.
that you think that you can protect for any harm, like something like that. Sorry, I'm very bad with definitions.
The thought, which of its own power does what? Somebody. Ala, you were on the way to that.
Protect you.
All its hopes.
Hopes that they will protect you.
Yeah, that this other object will protect us. The thought which of its own power puts all its hopes in another object while having the state of mind of being fearful and going for protection with absolute certainty that the object of refuge will help. So the fear and faith, those two components that arises from the mind by itself, not meaning self-existently, but meaning, oh, them, that will work for me. Then your quiz asks, describe the taking refuge which is shared with practitioners of lesser scope. Joanna, what's that mean?
People who are having the lesser scope, they try to just not to get born in a lower realm. So they seek refuge in what do they seek refuge?
Avoiding something.
Yeah, just avoid the suffering, and actually I don't know the answer.
Avoiding harming others in order to stop planting seeds that could ripen as their future birth in a lower realm. So their fear is out of fear of being reborn in a lower realm, and their refuge is in the guidance of what things to avoid doing to lessen the likelihood of a lower rebirth, which would go on to actually closing that door completely. Okay. Why is it called shared? Shared, we're using the term shared, meaning we're not talking actually about the refuge of those beginning level practitioners. We're talking about a refuge in the mind of someone who is beyond that motivation, has a higher motivation for their refuge, but they still share that lower refuge motivation. Because even at, especially at Mahayana level, we still need to want to close the doors to lesser rebirth. And we still need to want to stop perpetuating samsara altogether for ourselves in order for our Mahayana refuge to be complete. So when we say shared, we mean we're talking from the perspective of a greater capacity person, how their refuge is shared with the lessers in order for their greater vehicular refuge to be that greater vehicular. Step shared. So the next question was, describe the refuge of practitioners of greater scope. So when we describe a refuge, you want to describe what they're fear of. And so then what behavior they're trying to train in order to reach their goal. So for the greater scope practitioners, they have only one fear? No, they have three, right? The fear of lesser rebirth, fear of perpetuating samsara themselves, and fear of not reaching the omniscience through which their compassion can help all beings. Meaning their fear holds these three components to it. Then their faith is in the Mahayana guidance, which includes avoiding harming others. It includes avoiding harming others really specifically to stop perpetuating those 12 links. And it includes avoiding harming and trying to help with that higher motivation of being able to help ultimately someday. So highest capacity refuge has these two basic components still, fear and faith, in a mind that arises without somebody having to say in the moment, oh, this is where your refuge is. It grows out of our training that starts with training yourself to avoid the 10 non-virtues. Train yourself in not only avoiding them, but learn to do their 10 virtues, flip them around. And then train in that state of mind while doing those other two. Train in the state of mind that I'm doing it so that I can help all those beings reach their total awakening someday. Okay? And with that state of mind, we have our greater capacity refuge. So you can see it isn't something that we achieve and we're done. It's something we keep bringing up over and over and over until it does become a state of our reality. But I think we don't stop taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha probably until we are seeing ourselves in a Buddha paradise, and you don't need to do it anymore. But until then, we're still like syncing our device, right, with what our belief is every day, 6 times a day. In fact, says the teachings, every 2 hours. Well, in waking, right? During the 18 hours that we're awake, you could say every 3 hours. Then they ask, what's this thing result refuge? Anybody? What result are we talking about?
So they will reach total enlightenment.
That you will reach total enlightenment.
The members of the Sangha, the 3 jewels.
Right, that you will reach becoming those 3 jewels.
And we are
Taking refuge in that path.
In our future, us.
Yeah. It's a little weird. How can I get protection from something that hasn't happened yet? Just by way of thinking, well, it's gonna someday. It's inevitable. How can that protect me?
Maybe like mother who is just pregnant, that they never met their baby, but they feel in love, like they feel a connection with them. It could be like that, like taking refuge in something that you don't know, but you just know.
Yeah, you don't know, but you know. That's perfect. Yes. And then as we train in how anybody reaches the state of their total enlightenment, and we take refuge in our result, the being that we're going to be someday, that's telling us, follow these trainings. So in a sense, it's another way of encouraging us to learn those principles that we use to reach our total enlightenment. And like the pregnant mom, right? Babies gestating, we don't know them yet, but we love them so much we know they are going to be someday. And so we do everything we can to bring them about. Same. It's a great analogy. Thank you. Result refuge. it just doesn't feel so solid. You don't call the fire department that has not, opened in your neighborhood yet. You call the one that's already there. But if you cook it, you'll see how powerful it is when you have this connection to your future you. Because future you knows you so well. Okay, good. This class is entitled Bodhicitta and the Mind. And it's difficult. And although I've taught it many times, I've studied it many times, it still throws me for a loop. And so with this class, please give yourself permission to do your homework and quiz like a parrot. Do your homework, just copy if you need to, right? At least write it. Don't cut and paste. At least type it or write it. Try to unravel it. I'm going to try to help you do so. The quiz is easier than the homework by a long shot. But it's still, if you're going to try and really understand it before you do it, you will never complete it. So I'm giving you permission to be just like the parrot and get it down on paper, because we're planting seeds in this class. And I remember my state of mind years ago taking this class by audio. And I listened to it again and again and again. And I just couldn't do it. But I knew how to pass a test, So I was able to pass the test. So I give you permission, right, to just not understand. And I suspect that if you give yourself permission she says, this is too hard for me, I'm just not going to get it. So just pour it in and let it happen. That you'll come out of it going, oh, Sarahni, that was not so hard. What's up with you? Right? I hope to hear that from you. But so here goes, right? Oh, I have a screen share. Here's our vocabulary. Tonight's whole class is about this phrase. Semke pani shendin chir, yang dak zokpe chang chum du. It technically is the short definition of bodhicitta. We've learned it before. The wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. That's the answer to the question on the quiz. But the question on the homework is, what is the short definition of bodhicitta? And the short definition of bodhicitta is not short. No, I'm sorry, that is the short definition, but we're going to get a long definition that you only need for your homework, which means you can copy it. All right, let me get all of you here because I lost you. So just very quickly on the short definition, Semke means bodhicitta. It means this mind that wishes to reach their total enlightenment. And that's what we're defining. So Semke pani means, Semke is, Shendin chir means the wish for the sake of others. Chir is the wish, Shen is others, and Dun is somehow for the sake of. Yang dak zokpe means all, total. Total. Changju is the word for enlightened being, enlightenment. Zhang means that training. Chub is the total purify, totally purified by training, something like that. Changju. And Du is the wish again. So this whole thing is the wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Kind of two wishes rolled into one. And that's what the long definition needs to sort out. If there's two parts to this bodhicitta, how can you actually grow it? Because if bodhicitta is one state of mind, how can it have two different states of mind in one state of mind? One is not two. Two is not one. How does this work? So, bodhicitta in Sanskrit is semke in Tibetan. Chitta means mind, but in the sense of the mind as a movement of the mind, moving mind. Kye means the wish, or like the wish to create. Bodhi means Buddha. So we learned bodhicitta literally means Buddha mind, but the Tibetans translated it as mind that's trying to create something, which is the Changchu, is what it's trying to create. And it's held within the semke, that the wishes for Buddhahood. Again, bodhicitta is the wish to achieve total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. It has these two components. And key within those two components is to benefit all beings and to achieve total enlightenment, which we're going to point out. And it implies that if you have to emphasize total enlightenment, that there must be non-total enlightenments. Like, what's up with that? And that's where the long definition helps sort this out for us. And fortunately, we have an explanation of how it does do so, because the long definition itself for me doesn't clarify it at all, because I can't understand it. So let's just again get clear of these different capacities of humans on a spiritual path. We've learned that the Mahayana, so these are Sanskrit terms, Mahayana, Pratyeka Buddha, and Shravaka. Mahayana means the great capacity. The Mahayana practitioner, all that they put into practice is leading them to their goal of Buddhahood. I should probably put in here total Buddhahood to be more accurate. Pratyeka Buddha is translated as going blank here, self-made Buddha, which means this person is making great progress on their spiritual path in a given lifetime, apparently under the guidance of no specific teacher. They're probably reading books, right? Exploring different traditions, but they're able to assimilate it and somehow practice it and make these great strides in changing their behavior such that they are planting the seeds that can move them along to their goal, their spiritual goal, which is nirvana. And we've learned that this self-made Buddha, they're neither Buddhas nor are they self-made. The term means they're making spiritual progress. They have no apparent teacher in this lifetime, but it's all a result of the way in which they have studied from and served well teachers in the past, probably many past lifetimes. So we hear stories like, that man name is escaping me, Eckhart. There's an old Eckhart Tolle from a long time ago, and then there's the new one. Is Tolle his last name? But anyway, right, the story I understand is he had this spiritual awakening on a park bench and sat there for 3 years, and now is able to lead people through, amazing trainings. And right, yet he doesn't have the kind of study tradition that we're in. It doesn't invalidate anything for him. For us, Pratyeka Buddha level. For some reason, Pratyeka Buddha level practitioners, their seeds make them say or believe nirvana is the highest achievable thing. Stopping samsara for oneself is the highest goal. Pratyeka Buddha. And so if this was the only tradition and their nirvana was their highest goal, they would call that enlightenment. I've reached enlightenment. And the state of mind they will have reached is freedom from all mental afflictions and the seeds for future ones. Because they didn't have the aspiration for omniscience in order to help all beings. That wasn't part of their goal. So it's not part of their result. So we will see in the literature, apparently, that a Pratyeka Buddha reaching their goal is, they're said to have reached their enlightenment. But not total, you see, because they haven't reached omniscience. Long story about what happens after that. Shravaka are we want to say, they're the lesser practitioners because they only believe they can close the door to lesser rebirth, and that's their goal. But that Shravakas are above that level. Shravaka can even listen to Mahayana teachings. They can learn them well enough to even teach them to others, but they themselves don't have the seeds to see that that's something that they themselves aspire to. They are aspiring to their own nirvana, which includes closing the door to lesser rebirth, right? That's true for all of them. So Shravaka level practitioners also have as their goal the end of their mental afflictions, the end of their samsara. And they call that enlightenment. So do you see, if all of these are the semke that we're trying to grow, then semke means different things. Bodhicitta means different things according to the motivation of the practitioner. What the practitioner perceives as their highest goal is what's meant by bodhicitta. we learn bodhicitta and we think, oh, automatically that refers to the Mahayana. And automatically that means people want to reach their nirvana with omniscience, meaning Buddhahood. But we're assuming that everybody's in the Mahayana path, and they're not. And neither were we at some point. Okay? So if we don't have any contact with people in different Buddhist traditions, none of this really matters. Because you're not going to sit down with somebody and say, if your really goal is nirvana, you're missing out, and you're just going to have to come back and do your compassion training to get to Buddhahood. So why don't you just do that now? Maybe my words would sway them a little bit, but come on, they're probably way advanced over me in terms of their understanding of karma and emptiness. Who am I to say you're on the wrong path? So it's a kind of arrogance when we're working with the Mahayana to think, oh, anybody who's not Mahayana is lesser. It is true, however, they say, that the ultimate evolution of any conscious being is their total Buddhahood. So these other paths that go to nirvana actually stall us out for a bit until we figure out that from a nirvana state of mind, there are other beings that are still suffering, and it's clearly unnecessary because you've stopped your own. It means they can stop theirs. And so one would then maybe make the determination, I need to grow my compassion. And in order to grow compassion, I actually need to be within a suffering world. I'm not going to suffer from it because all my seeds for mental afflictions are done and gone. But I'm going to work with growing my compassion to help others. And I can do so because I'm living proof that you can get your fingers and toes cut off and love the person who's doing it to you. To quote the fellow from Diamond Cutter Sutra. So we're wanting to be precise with our terminology, but more importantly, precise with our mind and where we think we're headed to. We want to get it clear. On our path to total Buddhahood, we will reach nirvana. And I think by the time we're there, from a Mahayana path, we're not likely to get wooed into staying there. But I suspect it's a possibility. That's like, whoa, nirvana's so nice. Let's just chill for a while. So the more we understand all these different levels, the more our practices of the Mahayana, which I'm assuming you're aspiring to because you're in this ACI program, the more understanding is imbued in our mind, in our heart, in our practices. We don't have to be thinking this all the time. Once we understand the principles, we understand the principles, right? You don't have to remind yourself of your ABCs in order to write a letter. Same idea. So these three different levels are said to be three tracks of spiritual training with these two different goals. And on each track, that practitioner will go through 5 stages of learning and practice and realization in order to go from one stage to the next. So each of those 3 has a path of accumulation, a path of preparation, a path of seeing, a path of habituation, and a path of no more learning. They even use those same words, but what they train in on each of those paths and what they call the experience of the realization that moves them from one path to the next is different. And in their Tonglam, their path of seeing, what their mind is infused with going into their experience colors their interpretation of that experience, and it therefore influences their mind and their seeds according to that interpretation. And then they're on their path of habituation, learning to live according to what it is they now know by way of their path of seeing. But their interpretation of their experience may be, oh, there's no thing or nobody that exists without their causes, meaning their worldly causes. Or maybe, oh, there's no thing or nobody that exists outside the realm of the other powered thing, the way I perceive it, forced by my karmic seeds, and the process of that happening. It becomes those different schools of Buddhism that we learn later. We have a tendency to think, oh, once you see emptiness directly, that experience is the same for everybody. And it puts everybody into that place of, oh, now I know that everything that happens to me is from my own seeds and nothing but. But that's all, to have that conclusion after the experience is born of having understood that about that experience going into it. The process of the path of accumulation and path of preparation is what's planting the seeds in us to interpret that experience in a way that will profoundly change our behavior. And it comes about in 3 different ways, depending on what our path of accumulation and preparation included. So each of these is called enlightenment, but these 2, they call them lesser ones, well, incomplete ones, are not Buddhahood. They are not enlightenment because they lack the omniscience that allows our mind to know how and what to do for each being to help them stop their suffering as well. So when we say total Buddhahood, total enlightenment, it is to clarify to us that we mean nirvana with omniscience. That's what we mean by Buddhahood. And if we're talking to other people and they're not in our tradition or they haven't studied well, even in our tradition, we might want to ask them, what do you mean by Buddhahood? And it gives us an opportunity to share some clarification if they say, oh, just freedom from mental afflictions. It's like, yeah, that's a really nice space, but There's more that, right? There's more. Someday there'll be more. All right. So let me see. So Pratyeka Buddhas and Shravakas also use the term bodhicitta for the mind that wants to achieve their nirvana. That's where the confusion comes in. We mean by the term bodhicitta the wish to reach total enlightenment. See why? For the sake of all sentient beings. Is my wish for is what I mean, what we mean by bodhicitta. Mahayana bodhicitta. We would probably be wise to clarify it. Mahayana bodhicitta. So now, if we're going to use the term bodhicitta, we want to fill that word with meaning. And we're in a position because it's a word that we didn't grow up with. It's not our home language. And so we have this new word that we're learning what they mean for it to mean. And the more we learn about it, the more rich that word is when we use it. And it's kind of fun because in English, there's no short way to say bodhicitta. It's the wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. That's too cumbersome. So we're going to pack all this cool stuff into the word bodhicitta. And then what we train ourselves to do is when we need that state of mind, all we have to do is think, say, see, bodhicitta. And the seeds are full of all this stuff, all this meaning that we've learned about it. And you don't have to be thinking all that stuff. It's all in the word. There's a word for that. Packing stuff with meaning, but I don't remember what it is. So we need to talk about bodhicitta in this deeper, richer way, so that when you use the word, it holds that much more meaning. Okay, I think I'm done with I'm done with this. I should have typed out the English, though. That would have made more sense. Anyway, so the rest of this class is about the long definition of Mahayana bodhicitta. And the long definition is really long. So bear with me here. Again, the idea is to make the word bodhicitta more packed with meaning. Okay, so bodhicitta is first, so it has two parts. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it. I'm going to read this again. The aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. That's the first part of the definition, and it itself has two parts. So here it comes again. First, it is the main mental awareness. Like underline that, we're going to talk about it. belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment. We already talked about that. For the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, that seems redundant, colon, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. Let me give it to you one more time. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others. And which is matched with a state of mind that's associated with it, the aspiration to achieve total enlightenment. So main mental awareness belonging to the greater way. We understand the greater way means the Mahayana, which means we understand enough about karma and emptiness and where suffering comes from, that we have this glimmer that we could help all beings stop it. And so we are already at that level of wanting to help others stop their suffering, and knowing that we stop ours in the process. Main mental awareness we're going to talk about. I will come back to that shortly. The focused on achieving total enlightenment. We need to say total so that we make it clear to our own mind that we're aspiring to omniscience, the end of our own mental afflictions and omniscience, total Buddhahood. And then total Buddhahood for the benefit of others, because we could be saying, I want to be a Buddha. I want to be a Buddha. But from this, because it would be so cool to be a Buddha for me, hanging out in Buddha paradise, you know, being emanations, I would have so much fun. But that's not a Buddha's state of mind. Are they blissed out all the time? Absolutely. But did they reach their Buddhahood so they could be blissed out all the time? No, they reached their Buddhahood so that they could be emanations that can help beings reach their blissed out all the time. My blissed out all the time is a side effect. Thank you very much. That's cool. So to clarify that I want to be total Buddhahood for everybody else's benefit doesn't negate our becoming Buddha. It in fact is necessary. We could aspire to becoming Buddha all we want, but if our aspiration to reach it does not include the aspiration to use it to help all beings reach it too, we won't ever reach it. What we'll reach is some nirvana maybe, but not total Buddhahood. So although it seems redundant to say, I want to reach my total Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings, it's important to add that so that our own mind doesn't fall off that track and try to reach Buddhahood for their own selfish reasons. I find it hard to believe that that would really happen, but it must, because here's the definition, and it needs to be clear so that every part of our mind that's going to try and negate something or take advantage of something has already been addressed. Where are we? Total enlightenment for the sake of all others. So this first part, the main mental awareness, is speaking to, wait a minute, I'm not there in my notes yet about what main mental awareness is. Let's do it. When I say, does your mind have bodhicitta? We think, oh, here's my mind, and it has beliefs in it. And I'm looking through the file card, under B. Is bodhicitta in there? Oh, look, found it. But that's not what we're talking here. We're not talking a mind that has something. The main mental awareness, bodhicitta, main mental awareness is simply the light bulb is on. The light bulb is never off, but it's just that raw awaring happening before any designation of what. So before any discrimination, before any feeling, before anything other than just aware. It's not really a subtle state that we're ever in all by itself. Because the instant that aware has shifted, it's shifted to something, and that something triggers a feeling, positive, negative, neutral, and that feeling triggers a I like, I want, I don't like, I don't want. And by the time you have all that, you have the object with an identity that is in it, that you like or dislike because it causes the feeling, all mistaken and all happening, right? 65 per finger snap. So there isn't a mind over here that then is over here doing this. The main mind is this consciousness within which all of this is happening. So it's a hard concept to get, because we keep talking about the mind with bodhicitta, the mind imbued with bodhicitta. It all keeps us implying that there's a mind here, independent of other factors, that then is aware of this or aware of that. And it's not so critical at this point to get that worked out, but to understand what they mean by main mental awareness, it's this raw aware. And to have bodhicitta as your permanent address, as Venerable Petra once said, the main mental awareness is colored by that bodhicitta, so that with every other thing it's aware of, it's still colored with it. It doesn't have it. It is it. It is bodhicitta. So we don't have that until some certain experience happens. And then we're colored with it to some extent. I don't think we're fully colored with it until we reach some certain bhumi later. But this definition is saying bodhicitta. We have bodhicitta when our main mind has this wish to reach total benefit for the sake of all others as its color. And still in the first part, and that aspires to achieve that goal. So it's one thing to be colored with the wish, and it's a second thing to be colored with the, oh, and I'm going to try to do it. I'd like to try to do it. So the first part of the first section of long definition is like, gee, I think I want to go to New York City. Yeah. But without the second part, I will never get to New York City because I'm just thinking about it. The second part of this first section is, oh, I want to go. So I'm going to check out how to get there, where to stay, what I'm going to do while I'm there. I'm going to plan out my trip. The aspiration to make it happen. It still hasn't happened, but without having some aspiration to actually act on the wish is not going to go anywhere. So let me read it to you again. The first part of the long definition of bodhicitta I lost it, and I don't know it by heart, I have to admit. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of all others. Wow, I want to go to New York. And which is matched with a state of mind associated with it, the aspiration to achieve that total enlightenment. The wish and the aspiration. The aspiration is a little bit more actively involved. All right, let's take a break. Ooh.
Can we ask a question?
You may.
The self-made Buddha, did they, I guess if their goal is nirvana, did they reach that goal in that lifetime necessarily of their own nirvana?
I think that's implied by calling them Pratyeka Buddha. You know, I don't understand it well enough to know, are you on the path of Pratyeka Buddha just because you don't have a teacher and you're making great progress? Maybe, but that alone does not necessarily mean you're going to reach nirvana. So
And
my
then-
guess it would be, you know, somebody who is getting close and could reach it either with something remaining, with remainder, or something reaching nirvana without remainder. Remember that? Yeah.
And then what would be the seeds to have so much goodness to become a self-made Buddha, but then to like not have a teacher?
Yeah, I would guess something about making a lot of progress under a teacher, but then somehow in the end thinking you've gone beyond that teacher, and then I don't need them anymore.
We need you, please stay.
I need my teachers, please stay. But they all ditch me. My experience is this life is my teachers all. I can't keep them close by, but they are never gone. All right, are we back? If you've gotten a refresher translator, you are working hard. Good, thank you. All right, I'm going to read it again. Bodhicitta, the definition. First, it is the main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve that total enlightenment, which maybe you can even add for the benefit of all others, but they don't do it. So really, there's 3 states of mind they're talking about here. And some bright bulb would ask, well, wait a minute. How can the main mind have 3 thoughts in it at the same time? It can't do that. Mind can only have one awareness at a time. And we say, nah, come on, that's not true. We're having multiple awarenesses all at once. And they say, well, if you get deep into meditation and slow your mind down, you will in fact find that every moment of awareness is like flower petals pinned to a target, like they're stacked. And when the arrow goes through them, although it appears that it penetrates them all at once, logically we know the arrow goes through the first, the second, the third, the fourth, until it hits the target, that it's sequential. And that the process of our awarenesses shifting are sequential like that. And there can only be one at a time, they say. So if that's true, then this definition for bodhicitta, where the main mind has 3 different thoughts in it at once, cannot happen. It's not possible. So they say, right, that's why we're making the distinction that this bodhicitta is the main mind, and that these 3 different thoughts that are happening are the mind's manifestations. The main mind is bodhicitta, and these thoughts are its appearances. Bodhicitta appears as, I want to reach my total Buddhahood, number one, for the sake of all sentient beings, number two, and I aspire to actually do it, number three, like 3 petals lined up, 3 dominoes. And they must just go domino, 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 like they're down and they're back up again, because they're going to be going on and on and on if our mind is imbued with bodhicitta. So imbued with bodhicitta arising, but it also means imbued with bodhicitta as we plant our new seeds. That's the important piece, isn't it? Okay. Let me give you the second part of the long definition. Secondly, it is a knowledge belonging to the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, parentheses, or something of its type, end parentheses, and which is included into the activity side of the standard division of the two of view and activity. So let me give it to you again. Bodhicitta is secondly the knowledge belonging to the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the middle way, or something like it, and which is included into the activity side of the division of the two of view and activity. So the division of the two of view and activity means the collection of merit is the activity side. What we think, say, and do with our mind imbued with bodhicitta in order to plant the seeds for us to reach that goal. Keeping our vows, caring for others, all of our 6 perfections. Then the view side is our wisdom, growing our understanding of karma and emptiness into the marriage of the two, into that sequence of events of perceiving directly the seeds ripening, perceiving directly the lack of self-nature of anything, and coming out, hopefully having our heart-opening experience, and then the 4 Arya Truths experience, which will all be interpreted with this mind colored by bodhicitta. If we go into it with a mind colored by the wish to have bodhicitta, even the wish for the wish. So I like that term, the mind colored by Mahayana, because it'll still be colored by it when we come out of that sequence of events. And now we will have, in fact, truly entered the greater way. So we are greater way practitioners, but we haven't actually entered the doorway to the greater way until we have this sequence of experiences that turns the tint of bodhicitta in our mind into full color of bodhicitta, full on bodhicitta that can never actually be washed away. So what we're talking about here is the knowledge that the knowledge of the wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, meaning you now know that it's true for you. Knowledge is a little bit more than just, yeah, I get it intellectually. It's a knowing it's true from deep experience that is deep enough to color a special experience to be interpreted as, oh, that's bodhicitta. And your Arya Bodhisattva with the two bodhicittas. Now, we call them two because one is going to be the actual, what we call the actual direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in your heart. And the other is that heart opening experience that now proves to you that what you understood to be your final goal is in fact going to happen. Like you just planted the seeds for it when you saw the face of every existing being and I love them and pledged to serve them. I think it's really impressive that their definition includes that nebulous statement, something of the type that this bodhicitta experience knowledge that we gain serves to move us through the doorway to the Mahayana or something like it, which implies that one could have an experience from other traditions, and they come out of that experience with a new level of understanding of what they can achieve and what they want to achieve. And they don't use the words Mahayana Arya Bodhisattva. I have no idea what words they might use, but this leaves it open that this could happen outside of our tradition. And I think it's an important piece as we're learning and growing and finding, oh my gosh, this is such a perfect match. Everybody needs to learn this. To recognize, no, yes and no. The principles, yes, but this particular method of learning it and practicing it maybe doesn't suit everybody. And Geshe encourages us to take these ACI courses into the arena of our own life and use them for your suitable audience. Okay, I'll leave it there. So, main mental awareness means that bodhicitta will become our main mind. And the thoughts of what that bodhicitta is are the mental functions, or will color the mental functions that arise out of that main mind that is now bodhicitta, the bodhicitta mind. It doesn't mean you're Buddha already. It means, everything that I do is moving me along that path. Now, because of this series of experiences that we've had and interpreted, to interpret it in this certain way. So the main in the definition makes it clear somehow that no one of those first 3 wishes in the first section are enough to serve as bodhicitta. There are those 3 different thoughts in the first section, and no one of them is sufficient. You have to have all 3, but you can't have all 3 in your mind at the same time. The mind has to be so imbued that I can't even say, as if it has the 3 all at once. It is the 3 all at once. And then they pop up, they manifest out of it. It says the main mental awareness. Why do they have to stipulate mental awareness? We're talking about mind. Isn't mind mental? Are there other forms of awarenesses that are different than mental awareness? Give you a clue. Hey, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, those are awarenesses, not mental. It's a little weird. It's like, no, but you have to have a mind to be able to interpret that information. They all have to be mental. No, mental means the thought ones. So yeah, you have your eye consciousness, and then the interpretation of that eye consciousness, and then the mental thought about it, all in a sequence. The mind that we're trying to define as bodhicitta is mental. It's not going to come through the visual consciousness or the auditory consciousness. It is mental consciousness. There's a reason they need to clarify that. And again, the significance escapes me. But they say, if you just said awareness, you might make the mistake that the fragrance of fresh bread is bodhicitta. I don't even get that example. They say the reason it's important is that once we are Buddha, we will see with every part of our being. We will smell with every part of our being, etc. And we will have mental awareness with every part of our being. And so for a Buddha, they're imbued with bodhicitta is not limited to their mental awareness. They even go on to say, look, Buddhas aren't imbued with bodhicitta at all. And wow, go down that with one of your debates. It's like, if Buddhas are not imbued with bodhicitta, egads, where does it go? What happened? Right? I don't think the conclusion is not at all, but something about not the way we think. So just in case we might misunderstand that we could have bodhicitta from what we smell, they make it clear, no, It's a mental awareness. And they say we need to stipulate it as belonging to the greater way to make it clear that they are not talking about our sugarcane bodhicitta, meaning the bodhicitta that arises, that we cultivate at the beginning of our prayers, for instance, or even the bodhicitta that we get, in some difficult situation and things shift a little and we get this heartfelt awareness of how this stuff really works, and we have a little glimpse of our bodhicitta. That's not enough either. That's great to have, and it's a big rejoiceable, but we haven't stepped through the doorway to the Mahayana from those sugarcane instances of bodhicitta. Stating that redundant for the benefit of others, seemingly redundant for the benefit of others, clarifies that we are making the distinction from the enlightenment of the self-made Buddha or Shravaka level. So it is important to add for the benefit of all others to our wish to reach Buddhahood, so that we're sure that our own mind is getting it right. Total enlightenment qualifies that we are aspiring to omniscience as well as the cessation of our samsara. So Geshe-la has said, how do we know? We will know when we've walked through the door to the Mahayana. There'll be no doubt. But how do we know we're even getting close? How do we keep from getting discouraged? And he suggests that we look for the boundaries of our compassion. We all have them. We can go out of our way for this person, or we can go a little bit out of our way for everybody, but we'll reach a level. It's like no more. I had this really interesting experience yesterday. It's too long a story for the setup, but this fellow had I can hardly do it. I was watching this person, willingly go out of his way to serve the needs of a mutual friend of ours. And he got up early, he packed his car, he brought all this stuff to our house to put it in our space. Willingly, we had agreed. But by the time he got here, we had already been contacted by someone else in this guy's own neighborhood who said, this friend is going to come stay with us, so his stuff needs to be here. So this one man, it's like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get this stuff to you. And then we said, sorry, but it needs to go back to your, back to your neighborhood. And I could see his level of bodhicitta shift. It's like he was really proud of himself. I'm not putting him down. I was proud of him too, for going to so much trouble to bring it to us. And now he's got to go to so much more trouble to take it to somebody else that he could have just taken it there in the first place, right? But the communication wasn't there. And I just saw his attitude shift from, I'm willing to take care of this guy, but this is too much. You know, I'll do it this one more time and then no more. He didn't say that, but I could feel it shift. And it was like, whoa, I know that I've done that. You know, I saw that in myself in other situations. And it's like, oh, this is what this is talking about. Where's our boundary? We all have them. Don't feel bad. To be able to recognize it, even if we don't shift what we do about it, to just recognize, oh, that's my level of my compassion, means I see where I can work. Okay, I can see where I can focus my attention to grow it bigger. Don't try to grow it, to include the whole world at once. That we don't have that capacity yet, or we'd already be doing it. But all of us have much bigger capacities than we thought we did, because look what we're doing. Okay? Already, our capacities have grown beyond what we thought we could do, or even thought we would do. And here it's like almost part of everyday life. So tie yourself on the back. Okay, we're getting there. Second way we know how we're doing is how easily, quickly do we blame others for our own upset. It happens so quickly. Who left those dirty dishes in the sink? They did, because there's only him and me, and I didn't do it. And then my seed's ripening him to do it. I get to fix it. It's the dominoes happening. And wherever along the way our awareness kicks in, then we laugh at ourselves for that. Oh, there I did it again, right? Blaming somebody else. And then lastly, how far out of our way will we go to help someone who appears to be in need? We have a limit, worldly reasonably, to recognize it and to try to grow it bigger. Is helping us grow our bodhicitta. All right, I'm going to just go through the homework with you because it's just cryptic and weird. Please forgive me, Geshe Michael. The first question on the homework is this detailed definition of the greater way. So just copy it from your notes or from the student notes. Just write it down. You don't need to know it for your quiz. All you need for the quiz is that short definition. What's bodhicitta? The wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Right? Then the second question. What thing is not this wish for enlightenment, but might be confused with it if we left the word main out of the definition? I don't even understand the question. What thing is not this wish for enlightenment, but might be confused with it if we left out the word main from the definition? The main mental awareness. So the main is inserted here to make clear that there are two specific different kinds of wishes which are included within the overall wish for enlightenment in the greater way. See why I'm giving this to you? Main means so that you can have two different states of mind at the same time, because you can't do that in anything but the main mind. But I don't know how the main mind can do it either. But for the homework, main here makes it clear that the two different specific wishes are included within the overall wish. Got it? Number 3, what thing is not this wish, but might be confused with it, if we left out the word mental? So if we left out the word mental, we might think those other sensory consciousnesses could be our bodhicitta. Their answer key says, what thing is not this wish but might be confused with it? The sensory consciousness of the Buddha. If you leave out mental consciousness and we read that long definition, we're going to think they're talking about the sensory consciousnesses of the Buddha. So don't make that mistake. Put in mental awareness. Number 4, what thing is not this wish but might be confused with it if we left out the words belonging to the greater way? Their answer is the idea that artificial or sugarcane bodhicitta is not genuine bodhicitta, that if we don't say belonging to the greater way, we might think that our sugarcane bodhicitta is enough. Emotions that we're calling sugarcane bodhicitta are not, they don't go deep enough to qualify as real bodhicitta for the entry into the Mahayana. They are steps along the path, but they don't imbue our mind with bodhicitta. Number 5, what thing is not this wish but might be confused with it if we left out the word total Buddhahood? The total is that without total, we might think that by Buddhahood, we mean wanting to reach nirvana. And by saying total Buddhahood, that's what clarifies that we're not aspiring to only nirvana. We won't mistake that. The wish for Buddhahood to be the wish to reach nirvana. And then lastly, what thing is not this wish but might be confused with it if we left out the words for the benefit of others? And by adding for the benefit of others, that makes it clear that we are not having listener or self-made Buddha motivations, because their motivations do not include others. Okay, so that long definition takes all the different ways that we might mistake what someone means by bodhicitta, and it pulls away all the misbeliefs so that we're clear that what we mean by bodhicitta is the wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. The wish, the aspiration, even to the intention to do so. Okay, that's class. You worked so hard, you get to finish early. Yay, me too. Do your best with this, and it is fine if it never gets clear. We've planted seeds that someday in the future you'll go, oh, I see why they had to do that. That early, like ACI 2, class 3. Anybody who wants to run away, now's the time, right? And we've got the reason. This is nuts. I can't follow it, right? I'll go find another path. But please don't, because we just got through it. Do your homework, do your quiz, and There aren't too many other classes that are this difficult in my experience. Even the ACI 13 is easier than this class. So, and you just did it. So hooray. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class? Maybe because of what we're doing, they never have to go through a class like this. They'll just understand. And that would be so cool. And so be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. They see the seeds you've planted, and they're pleased. Grow your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please, please, please stay close, to continue to guide you and help you and inspire you. And then offer them this goodness that we've done. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every being you've ever seen or heard of. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom. They don't know where it came from, and it doesn't matter. And may it be so. All right. Thank you so much. This is Sunday. We're going to have a great week. I'll see you. This group is Thursday night, right? Okay. Got it. All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Work hard. I love you. Hi, Jemmy.
Say good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.